Today we're looking at Blue Talisman by Nihilo. Now I'd only heard of this brand because of this fragrance, because of the popularity and the hype that this fragrance has garnered over the kind of last sort of year or so. That's the only reason I'd heard of Nihilo. So sometimes there are niche fragrances that do that. There are niche fragrances that just kind of pop off from a certain brand and then it gets you introduced into the brand. So now I've got this, I really am excited to try the other fragrances from Nihilo. So today we're talking about Blue Talisman. It's kind of a bit of a difficult fragrance to describe. It's one of those that I've had to wear quite a few times to give a proper review, and that's really what, as fragrance reviewers, we should do anyway. But it's a fragrance that I've had to wear more than other fragrances before I get an understanding of the fragrance, if that makes sense, because there's a lot going on in here. It's quite different, it's unique, and it has a different fragrance structure to a lot of other fragrances that I've tried before. So it has an almost kind of weird and futuristic smell. It's a few different fragrance characteristics in one. So you're smelling something that's kind of woody, floral, sweet, airy, and fresh. It has this interesting blend of really fresh airiness and sweet notes. They're the kind of main characters I get within Blue Nihilo. Now the main notes I get from spraying it are candied pear, so it's like a pear note, not really a natural smelling pear, but like a candied pear, so really sweet and smells like a pear candy. You get ginger, you get a really nice kind of ginger spice which gives this a lot of energy, and then as it dries down slightly you get these floral notes from orange blossom. Now orange blossom does have it's a floral note, so it's like a white floral, so think about how sort of a white flower smells, but it has a citrus element to it. So you could be thinking that Blue Talisman has this citrus note. Now I think that is from the orange blossom note, which can come across as a kind of citrusy floral note. Now, one of the most important notes in here is the musk note, which is in the base, and that gives this fragrance the kind of longevity that you get. And musk can smell different depending on what kind of musk it is, whether it's an animalic musk, whether it's a clean musk, whether it's a woody, airy musk, which I think is in here. It's quite warming. It has an almost warm scent profile. The base notes, you can smell this kind of warm, dry woodiness, and that is from the musk, and we're going to talk about that in a moment because this fragrance has some interesting notes in which I've not heard of before. So Blue Talisman has a note called Georgie wood in, and I'm going to read this because I had to do some research as to what Georgie wood is because I never heard of it before. So what Georgie wood is, it's a synthetic woody note that's made by drydown, which is a kind of perfume ingredients company. They make a lot of perfume oils for the big designer brands and niche brands. And what Georgie wood is, well, it's very powerful and long lasting, and you do get the sense of that in here because this is a really strong and powerful fragrance, which we will go onto in a moment when we talk about the performance. It's really dry and clean, and like I explained a minute ago, it has a kind of dry base note. Has a kind of dry base note, and it does have this kind of clean feel to the fragrance, and also it has a slightly metallic edge. I'm not sure I exactly get the metallicness of this, but it does have quite a sharp feeling to it. So that's Georgie wood, and also this has a note called Ambrofix. Ambrofix is basically a kind of derivative of ambroxans from what I understand, but it's a natural ambroxan. It's not a synthetic ambroxan note. It's made of kind of natural combustible materials from what I understand. And you do pick up on this kind of woody ambroxan note in the base notes, and that is from Ambrofix. I really think you need to wear this a few times before forming your opinion. So if you buy a sample of this, of course we sell samples on visionaryfragrances.com. You can buy a 2ml sample which will last you a while, or 5ml, which will really give you a good kind of experience of this scent. But it's not one that you should wear just for 1 or 2 times before making up your opinion. I think you need to wear this in different weather conditions, different kind of seasons, different occasions, to get a idea of how this works on your skin, because every time I wear it, I kind of form a different opinion myself. So when to wear Blue Talisman, it's quite a versatile scent. What I would find is it's quite sweet because of that candied pear note and the other notes in here which make it quite sweet. it's not a fragrance I want to wear all the time, so it's not a signature scent for me anyway. It's not something I would want to wear all the time, but I could certainly see how this would work as a signature fragrance if you really love this kind of unique scent profile, because you will smell different to everyone else around you. You have a really long-lasting fragrance. I mean, this will last all day, and I think it's fresh and versatile enough to wear all seasons and all occasions. I personally think this is a fragrance I'm going to wear just on specific things when I'm in the mood for this kind of weird fragrance, but I think it's really good. I think it would work as an everyday versatile fragrance. So I mentioned performance already, but the performance is solid, and I think it's because of those synthetic notes that we talked about a minute ago, that Georgie wood, but it does have a very long-lasting performance. Maybe not like a really strong projecting performance, but it really lasts ages on my skin. You can spray it on your arm, and I was spraying it on my arm many times to test it. Hours later, you can still smell it quite clearly. So the performance is really good, and the price I think is quite fair for this. I think I paid €220, around that price, for 100ml. It's a similar fragrance, it's a similar price to many other niche fragrances, and I think the performance and the interesting nature of this really matches the price, and I don't have many complaints with the price. Alternatives, the only alternatives I really thought of is Boise Imperial by Essential Parfums and Ganymede by Marc Antoine Barres. They have a slightly similar DNA with the kind of futuristic smell, the mineral smell, the aroma chemical smell that you get with those. I guess they smell different and they're really long lasting as well, but they don't smell exactly like Blue Talisman. So the verdict, I think this is a really interesting fragrance. I would definitely buy it again if I run out of this. I think I would buy it again. It's a fragrance that I do like to have in my collection. And if you are looking for something that is different to many other fragrances on the market, a niche fragrance that is versatile, really long lasting, but also has a different DNA, a different scent profile, this is a really interesting choice, and I do recommend you try this, but do not blind buy it, because it's not that type of fragrance that is a safe blind buy in my opinion. Order a sample or try and find it in a store to try it so you can get your noses on it. But as I said before, I don't recommend it as a first impressions fragrance. It's one that you need to try a few times before making an opinion. But I think this is really interesting, and I love interesting fragrances, and I love fragrances that are fresh and also have good performance, and this ticks all those boxes. I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. That is my rating of Blue Talisman. Now, I would like to hear your thoughts on if you've tried this, and if you have tried it, when do you think this is most appropriate to wear, and what would you change about Blue Talisman if you could? See you soon.